What's up guys, I'm Phoenix Master 1 and welcome to my builds guide and unit review for Groom Roy, Bridal Lilina, Bridal Cecilia and Bridal Sophia. So Groom Roy comes with his preferred weapon that can give him flat Canto 2, which can definitely make it easier to run the other slot B skills. And this also has effective damage against dragons and beast units. This weapon also gives you -1 special cooldown, so Luna becomes a 2 cooldown special. He can get +5 to all of his stats with his weapon, and he can also inflict penalty on foes' stats depending on half of the visible buffs that he has got right now in those stats. So with this weapon, you're pretty much able to do effective damage against dragons and beast units, and also pretty much have a lot of stats with the other effects. His exclusive skill Faith in Humanity does have good synergy with the weapon in providing him the visible buffs. So at start of turn, if he's within 3 spaces of any kind of ally other than dragons or beast units, then he can get +6 attack and speed to himself and to those allies for 1 turn. And this can definitely be pretty helpful for activating his weapon. If 2 or more human allies on the team have got visible buffs more than 10 or equal to 10, then he can get the tempo effect on Roy. And tempo effect is something that we have seen before on infantry units with these tempo skills, and it does have null guard and null special acceleration built into it. So this allows Roy to easily trigger his specials and also stop the special accelerating skills of the opponents. And this is definitely pretty good for triggering specials like Luna, Ruptured Sky, or even working as a Gale Force unit. And definitely pretty unique for a lot of Cavaliers because there's no flow tempo available yet. So yeah, this is definitely pretty nice for buffing himself up and also his allies and getting the tempo effect. Groom Roy does come with Flow Force, which is basically a flow skill in the player phase that can have partial null follow up, and it can also neutralize any kind of attack and speed debuff. So this is a decent skill, but I would still say that Flow Guard is a lot better because of the guard effect that he can get, and that can often help you survive many of the opponents. But still, Roy can definitely make use of his base kit to a good effect. He also has the Harmonic skill, which is going to be affecting Binding Blade and Blazing Blade units, and this Harmonic skill can give them +6 defense and resistance, visible buff, resonant shields, and also the Treachery status. So Treachery is a new status that Groom Roy brought, so this allows the unit to do true damage based on the total visible buffs present on them. So it pretty much takes it a step further from the Blade Tomes with the fact that it does give you the true damage. And this can definitely help you do a lot of damage because you already get the visible buffs out of his slot C skill. And then the remaining buffs you can get out of the Harmonized skill. So when you're going to be using Roy, you would have to use the units from the Elite games. So that is one of those restrictions which a lot of the dual units do not have to face. But when you can, have good team building and have the units who can make use of this kind of true damage, then they can definitely excel along with Roy. Now, he's definitely going to be compared to the other Axe Cavaliers like Summer Dimitri and Xander. Now, Summer Dimitri is pretty ridiculous because of having the true damage and also having a brave weapon, which is definitely a lot easier to trigger and also functions in both phases. So he's mainly going to be facing competition from Dimitri when it comes to being an offensive Cavalier, and when it comes to being a mixed phase Cavalier, Legendary Xander can also do the job as he does have null follow-up built into his weapon, and Chivalry is a pretty nice lobby skill, so Groom Roy definitely faces that competition. He's actually a pretty good unit with his effective damage against dragon and beast units, as we definitely have quite a bit of those, like Medius for example in Aether Raids, and then Asker in Summoner Duels. But overall, he is going to be having trouble just doing the massive damage like Summer Dimitri or having the mixed phase like Legendary Xander. Still, he's going to be able to function as a good Axe Cavalier. His base kit is quite fine, so you can just give him Blade Session and Reposition and he should be doing fine, but obviously a unit like this should be stacking up speed because you can get more out of the Flow Force and also by just naturally doubling the opponents. So attack speed catch 4 is something that he can run and also run attack speed solo so that he can function in both phases. But in the enemy phase, you will need to be within 2 spaces of an ally to get the weapons effect. You can also run Surge Sparrow just so that you can still get the healing while getting the speed, which is something Sturdy Surge does not give you. And you can just make a player phase build with Blade Session and the player phase slot B skill in Flow Force. If you want to invest a bit more into him for something like Aether Raids offense, then he could be running with attack speed push 4, and the reason why you need the push 4 skill is because it can help you get into the Wings of Mercy range of your Gale Force allies that have Wings of Mercy and the Dancers. So Groom Roy definitely stands out as a Gale Force initiator in the light season because Medius is going to be a pretty common frontliner that a lot of good teams are going to be having. So because of the effective damage and the tempo effect, Roy is easily able to trigger the Gale Force against Medius, and Heavy Blade is going to be helping you, especially with that null guard that you get out of the tempo effect. So this can pretty much make it so that you're going to be falling into the Wings of Mercy range after you engage in combat with a Medius, or even with any kind of near safe tank that's a dragon, like Ascended Idun for example, which is a pretty popular near safe tank. And you can easily run him with Asker and pretty much reduce your Gale Force cooldown, which can further help you. You can also use him in Summoner Duels because he is a Cavalier. Now, it depends on the maps. Some maps are really forgiving to the Cavaliers, like we have right now. But some of the maps are going to be really annoying with the trenches and stuff, so it really depends on the map. But because of the Canto 2 built into his weapon, you can do something that we have seen Ocher, Regin do time and time again with running hit and run. So this allows you to retreat 2 spaces even if you are getting Canto controlled. And if you're going to be playing in the high echelons of Summoner Duels, then Canto control is a skill that most good teams are going to be having. So hit and run can definitely be pretty nice as a budget option just for retreating for like a Summoner Duels S team. But if you want to specialize for Summoner Duels, then I would say that having lull speed defense definitely helps you. And the reason for it is because we have units like Flame Tribe Lin, we have Legendary Dimitri, all of these blue units who can stack up speed and basically try and function as a raid boss. And against them, having this kind of lull skill is going to be helping you, especially when they usually carry like Vital Astra. So you can pretty much close the gap, and lull skills are going to be helping you against those kinds of units. You can still get the attack and speed debuff neutralization with their Clash skill. And you can actually have Ruptured Sky so that you can pre-charge it with Asker or Duochrome. And this can definitely help you against Asker or a lot of the common beast and dragon units that are used on front lines. So by having Ruptured Sky pre-charged, you can actually trigger that twice in a single round of combat if the enemy counterattacks. The boosted damage of Ruptured Sky in those matchups is going to be pretty nice, and the fact that you can pre-charge it pretty easily does make it a really good option, but definitely an expensive one. You can also run him in Aether Raids defense because he is quite good at taking care of some of the near save units, especially if they're dragons or beast units. So you can just run him with a player phase skill like Sparrow or Surge Sparrow. It really does not matter. As long as you're running something that is consistently giving you speed and attack, that is going to be good enough. So stacking up speed is going to be helping you because we do have Rearmed Rima as a pretty fast near save unit. So he could be used in the Anima season with Arvel and Mirabilis because Arvel can provide the guard effect, and with the guard effect and his tempo skill, it pretty much means that the opponent is not going to be getting any kind of special off. So that can definitely be a pretty nice budget way of pretty much getting flow guard in a way while still having flow force in his base kit. So that's definitely a way you can use him in Aether Raids defense, and you can also use him at max investment with flow guard being actually run in the slot bay and by getting the debuff neutralization with the Clash skill. And just doubling down on the effectiveness against beast and dragon units with Ruptured Sky is always going to be good. And finally, if you do plus and merge him, then you can also just use him in Arena with G-Dual Cavalry 4. And Mystic Boost 4 could also be used because he already gets the Canto out of his weapon, so it's not that big of a trade-off compared to other Cavaliers that really need to run a Trey skill. So by having a 300 SP slot B skill, you can pretty much score like a 185 BST unit with this kind of build. Bridal Lilina is a blue mage cavalier this time, and her weapon provides her minus on special cooldown. It can also provide you with the quicken pulse effect so that she can pre-charge her gifted magic. And with this weapon, she pretty much trades the Hardy Bearing compared to Legendary Lilina for having a much better damage output. So this can give her +6 attack and speed, and also true damage based on 10% of her resistance. So that's not the worst trade-off because Hardy Bearing is definitely useful, but getting more damage is going to be helping you just nuke the far safe tanks better, and having more nuking power is never really too bad now that we have such bulky units. She also has Still Water, which can help you just with your AoE specials or any kind of skill that requires a visible attack check or visible resistance check. Her attack is going to be pretty good at base 44, and resistance is also pretty high. As a nuke, Bridal Lilina is usually going to be compared to these blue nukes, so Hapi can also function as a cavalry blue nuke with her weapon and the effective damage against the dragon units and beast units. So this does allow her to easily kill Duo Duma even through his defensive special if she has got a 2 cooldown special, and Bridal Lilina on the other hand has to rely on her AoE special. So if the Duo Duma player places him in a way that he doesn't get hit by the AoE special, then he can definitely live. But even if Duo Duma is running the Dragon Wall, Lilina does have most resistance out of these nukes so that she can neutralize the Dragon Wall damage reduction essentially. But when it comes to being a blue nuke, essentially no one can really beat Duo Thor because of the support that she provides with World Breaker and how easy it is to charge an AoE special on her with her weapon. Not to mention that Duo Button is just really insanely good. So when it comes to being an AoE blue nuke, Duo Thor is going to be the first in line, but because of having the blue color, at least compared to Legendary Lilina, Bridal Lilina is going to be having neutral matchup against the common blue far saves like Brave Hector and Ascended Adun, and weapon strangle advantage against Duo Duma and Summer Edelgard. Bridal Lilina can definitely fry some of the far save units, but you need to make sure that the AoE special does hit the far save tank so that they can, die to her gifted magic. Also, gifted magic is not going to be as strong as something like Blazing Wind because of its lower multiplier, but you can definitely use some other specials depending on the support that you have. If you want to build up Bridal Lilina on a budget, then you can give her Fury and you could run Reposition. I do like Fury a bit more because she does get the true damage out of her resistance, so increasing it does make sense along with her visible attack stat. And you can also run Life and Death, but again you're going to be reducing her resistance. She can also be used in Summoner Duels, and Summoner Duels is for sure because she does have the high resistance to make use out of Sabotage skill to support your teammates, and a lot of the good teams are going to be having Canto control, so missing out on the Trace skill is not the biggest deal, but if you feel like having it, then you can definitely run that. But with the Sabotage skill, she can essentially make productive use out of her resistance to support her teammates, even if she's not attacking, and you can actually run a higher damaging AoE special like Blazing Wind or Blazing Flame if you can pair her up with Asker and Duochrome, so you can pretty much pre-charge her special. In some of the weeks where we have Erosion, which can allow you to ignore the far saves, Lilina can be extremely terrifying, and you can even use her when Turmoil is a skill and she can get the extra movement. So with that, she can definitely just cook a lot of far save tanks with that AoE special. You can also use her in Aether Raids defense because of being a Cavalier, of course, and she could be used in the Dark Season with Medius because Medius can give her the attack and resistance buff, these 2 stats which she actually cares about, so this can allow her to nuke harder. And you can also run Blue Feud so that you can welcome Brave Hector and Ascended Adun in case they are trying to tank her. So it can just help you hyper optimize, and lull attack resistance is always going to be helpful because visible resistance use is pretty common in the light season. You can also finally use her in Arena with B-Dual Cavalry 4 and a tier 4 slot B skill like Mystic Boost 4. So Mystic Boost 4 actually allows you to tank some of the threats and also get the healing. You're going to be missing out on the Trace skill for sure, but this is for the scoring, and this can also help you in the dragon matchups, especially with her high resistance. Bridal Sophia is a red mage flyer this time with Dragon Bouquet as her preferred weapon. This can provide her with +3 attack, and if she's at or above 25% HP, then she can get +5 to all of her stats and also the Raven Tome effect. So it can provide her the weapon strangle advantage against the colorless units, and finally she can also get the guaranteed follow-up attack. So getting this is definitely pretty nice because it can free up her from running quick riposte, and she is really slow, so it does help her have some kind of player phase. She's definitely pretty unique as a red mage flyer because of having this kind of bulk with 36 base defense, having super boon in it as well. And we usually don't really see mages having this high of a defense. She also has good resistance at base 34, but unfortunately her HP is not the highest, and because she's a flyer, she's going to be weak to the archers, which she can try and counter with the Raven Tomb effect. So I wish that her weapon also had the Iode Shield built into it, because then it would have also freed up her Sacred Seal from running Iode Shield, which you would need to run if you want to tank the archers especially. And there are definitely going to be a lot of archers present in pretty much any kind of game mode. She also has Attack Resistance Hold, which is just a high scoring version of a rain skill with 3 spaces. so it could be used in arena for the extra scoring or for just having more range on your range skill. But now that we have attack res Oath 4 from Arvel, that can also be run on Sophia. So she doesn't really have too much of a comparison because no other flying red mage has this much defense. So if you want to run her on a budget, then you can simply give her the link skill and have reposition. But if you want to invest a bit more into her, then having a cat skill is going to be pretty nice. Now with the hold skill, you're not going to be able to get the visible debuff. So she does appreciate some kind of team support. And you can also run attack defense catch as the Sacred Seal. So having this kind of mixed phase build is going to be pretty nice for Sophia. And at least she's not going to be losing the HP with the push skill, because the weapon that she has, it does have a HP threshold. So not losing HP from the push skill is definitely pretty nice. And you can also run her with attack resistance unity and the new attack res Oath 4 skill. So this can provide you the teleportation and also the visible buffs. And in case you get panicked on those visible buffs, then the unity effect is there to save you. And you can definitely run Bonfire or Iceberg on Sophia, but Glimmer can definitely work out fine because she can hit hard, especially when you're stacking up this much attack on her. Because of her high defense, she can also be used in Summoner Duels especially with Bridal Catria team so that she can get the brave hits, or with Ash so that she can extend her movement. So you can run her with Guard and also Sturdy Impact, which is going to be helping her easily initiate against a lot of the far safe tanks. And because she's got rather balanced mixed bulk, the adaptive damage doesn't really do too much against Sophia from the dragons. So you can just enhance her bulk with Sturdy Impact, deny the follow-up attack of the enemy, and then also deny any kind of special acceleration with the guard effect, and just pulse smoke down their hardy fighter units or their pre-charged special units. So Sophia could be used for that, and not a lot of mages are going to be having the bulk to do what Sophia can do. So if you really like her, then this is one of the ways she could be used competitively. And you can also use her at max investment with Close Reversal. I'm not really the biggest fan of Close Reversal and like Close Foil on many of the ranged units because they do not really have the bulk to take on a lot of the modern melee threats, but Sophia is a bit different because of having a defense super boon and having more defense than most of the mages. So at max investment, you can definitely run this. And because this is mainly a tanking build, you could run Mystic Boost 4 so that you could have the healing and also have the attack debuff on the enemy. And you can also run Attack Smoke 4 so that you can have the follow-up negation effect to essentially get the Omni Breaker effect with her weapon. And with this kind of tanking build, you definitely need IO Shield Sacred Seal. Finally, if you do use her in arena with R-Dual Flying 4, I would recommend Mystic Boost 4 because the attack debuff of it is definitely pretty helpful for tanking, and you could just run 300 SP passives, and this is going to be allowing you to score as a 185 BST unit. Now, IO Shield Sacred Seal is extremely important in arena in my opinion because Sophia is one of those units who can bait out a fully buffed plus and do a dagger and just kill her on the retaliation. So attack res Oath 4 does help you with that, and with the IO Shield Sacred Seal, it does allow you to even, bait out archers like Legendary Leaf for example. So I would definitely recommend that. And to compensate for the lost SP, we're already running the 300 SP passives, so you can definitely run this on an arena build. Finally, we have got Bridal Cecilia as the 4-star focus of this banner, and she's got Bridal Orchid Plus, which is just the resistance version of Bride Loram's weapon. So it does have attack and resistance bonus doubler built into it, so it does have good synergy with the Rouse skill that she comes with, but there are definitely better weapons that you can run at higher investment, and she does have some good fodder and rally attack resistance plus, and also the Ruse skill which you get inherit at the same time. And Rouse skills are going to be useful if you want to inherit the tier 4 version of it, but generally they don't have the best effect compared to the Oath 4 skills. So she can provide you with that fodder, and when it comes to her stats, she's basically like a Mercedes that is easily summonable, which yeah, definitely kind of hurts me because I wish Summer Mercedes was also a 4-star focus. And she could also be compared to the Grail Red Mage Cavalier in R8A, who is going to be getting a weapon refine whenever she does. And mainly Cecilia and Mercedes are going to be waiting for a good arcane red tome so that they can function better. They do function pretty similarly, and I do have a lot of experience using Summer Mercedes. So building up these kinds of Mage Cavaliers is pretty straightforward, especially on a budget. So you can just get the solo skill from the Divine Codes and run the solo Sacred Seal as well, and just stack up attack and resistance on her. But if you want to invest a bit more into her, then the Vulture Tome is definitely a good option that you can try and have. And you can also run the Menace skill so that you can activate the Vulture Tome. And because it is going to be having the solo condition, we can easily run a solo slotty skill or even attack resistance catch for the extra offenses, because we have a debuffing skill in the Menace skill. So it can definitely work out, and it is definitely going to be synergetic. You can also run the Vulture Tome along with a more supportive build with Still Water and Sabotage Resistance. And you can also run the tier 4 version of the Rouse skill because you need to be solo for the Vulture Tome as it is. So Still Water could be used if you got extra Bridal Lilinas and if you want to have a more supportive build. You can also use her with a speed-based build with Luminous Grace Plus. She can reach 65 plus speed, but that's not really all that high in the modern metagame. But if you don't really want to build up a slow Cecilia, and if you want to go the fast route, then this is definitely an option. And you can get this weapon easily from the Divine Codes as well. And she can also be used with R-Dual Cavalry 4 in Arena. And she doesn't really do anything too special compared to the other red mages. Even with the Arcane weapon, she's not going to be able to score higher with a tier 4 slot B skill because the Arcane weapons don't really score as much as a Legendary weapon. And then finally, you can also use her in the Aether Raids defense Dark Season because we don't really have too many red cavaliers that can be used there. So she could be run with a push skill because the recall damage is not going to be a problem with Medius. And Medius does buff up your attack and resistance, which is perfect for the attack resistance bonus doubler of her Bridal Orchid Plus. So this could be used, and you can just use her with level attack resistance and just stack up her attack. I know this video was pretty late, but still I wanted to complete this. I hope you all enjoyed. If you did, then make sure to leave a like and a comment, helps me tremendously. And if you really enjoyed, you could always support me directly by using super thanks or by becoming a YouTube member down below as well. And for more FEH videos, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell because YouTube sub boxes are about as functional as my summer Mercedes seeing the stats of Bridal Cecilia. So with that said, I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.